Nives Gadoni is the author of The International Madam: How a Woman Controlled a Worldwide Sex Ring. She used to work as an intern at Sony, but then started an escort company, which led to her being introduced to Diddy and his parties. Everything seemed to be fine in that world until she claims Diddy's crew set her up to the feds, causing her 4 years in the New York State prison back in 2012 before being exiled back to Switzerland. She's here now to talk about it all. Welcome to Popcorn Planet, the interview. So excited to have Nives here. Welcome to the show, Nives. How are you doing?
Hi, Andy. How are you? Thank you for having me.
I'm great. You got some tea to spill here. I'm so excited to hear about it, guys. This is a wild story, and it puts a whole new perspective on this Diddy story. So I'm grateful for you being here. You're basically going to come in here and acknowledge the fact that Diddy's own team are informants with the feds, which implies that is Diddy himself an informant to the feds? Did they know all along? She's going to drop some serious evidence and tea here, guys, to sort of allude to all of this, which only creates so many more questions I have. But I'm so excited to get through this. So thank you for being here. I want to start with your background. I don't want to avoid that. So you were in the escort business. Can you sort of explain that to the crowd? Sometimes that is people would wag their finger at that. How did you do that? How did you get into that? How did you get away with that? Can you fill us in a bit?
Sure, absolutely. Thank you, Andy. So I came, in a nutshell, I arrived in the US from Switzerland when I was 20 years old. My original plan was actually selling watches in the Diamond District, which I have done in the beginning. But in the year 2008, there was some financial problems in the United States, as we all know, was a little, financial issues that they had. So the company that I worked for went to Hong Kong, and I decided to stay. Now, with no income and only an internship where you don't really make money from, right? I set up an escort service. What does that mean? It's beautiful, elegant, high-end ladies that go on dates with people that pay for that, for their time, right? What they do with their own time is up to them, between two grown people. Obviously, all my ladies were at least 21 years old, and they did that because they wanted to do that. And they were paid really well and had security. So got into that just to make a little bit as a side hustle, to make a little bit extra money. But it happened within like a year. I had 50 girls working for me internationally. And that went from Europe all over to the States, to Africa, to the Middle East, to Asia as well. And these girls, I'm from Switzerland. I'm half Italian, half Swiss. And in Switzerland, prostitution is legal. So these girls that came actually to the States that I was flying in, they were there on a 3-month visa, the regular tourist visa, and they already knew how to work. And again, they did that on their free will, and made a bunch of money and left the States again. So that's kind of how all that started. And I got into that because my best friend, she was working in one of those escort services. I never did. Obviously, no judgment. But I was really good in managing it, like setting up the times, make sure everyone is on time, kind of coach these girls a little bit how to be a lady, and how to keep it interesting, because looks is one thing, but as well, you have to be able to keep a conversation and entertain these gentlemen.
Yeah, and no judgment. I just want the background there because I think also relevant based on some of the charges Diddy's facing. I want you guys to really know her background. And so through that work, that you were then also started an internship at Sony. You met D-Rock, which was Biggie's right-hand man at the time. Also then connects you to Uncle Paulie, who was head of security, connects you through Diddy. And so that's where all these connections to Diddy and that team happened, yes?
Yes, exactly. So I met D-Rock just being out and being all at these places where he was as well. And he invited me to some event where I brought my friend with me, and my friend started dating Uncle Paulie at that time, which was the head of security. But that was back at that time. I don't know if he's still working there or not, but he was around for many, many, many years. I think he's pretty much well known in the industry. And so they started dating, and I started to form a friendship with him, more like a brother-sister friendship over the years. And that's kind of how we started doing business together. At first, obviously, he did not know about the girls or all my other businesses because my goal was to be a manager or A&R in the music industry, setting up tours, anything like that. That's how I kind of, that was my long-term goal. It was not to be a madam or run escort services. That was just a means to like survive in New York. As you know, it's very expensive there.
Yeah, without a doubt. And so you're figuring that out. That's all happening, and that's when you get into the sort of the Diddy scene, the Diddy parties,
Right.
et cetera. We have to be careful on some of the keywords we say, but
Right.
substances were then brought in,
Mhm.
and that's when things and women. And then at a certain point, you were asked to bring in certain amount of substances more than you were comfortable with. Correct?
Right, but that was through Uncle Paulie. That was not for the party. So there's a difference between the parties and the studio and so on. That was just small amounts. But then obviously for me, it was not even the interesting part, like with those substances. It was more like for parties, favors, and for the clients, right? And then
Yep.
if someone asked me for it, I would just give it to them. It was not even about making money. It's just more like getting favors for favors, right? That was more a little
Yes.
bit my way of dealing with it. And since that they were taking a liking into that product, they asked me to just set up, or they just wanted to know who my connect was, right? Which I was not able to give out. And then since he did a lot of favors for me, I kind of felt obligated, being naive. At that time I was 24, um, obligated to set him up with a bigger amount, which that it kind of, was my big mistake.
So they ask you basically to smuggle a huge amount of, like, they want you to now sort of help be a mule in a way and get some of these across. Was it Mexico?
Right. I mean, that was just the first question was really, really odd because we used to go to these poker parties up in Harlem, like private parties. And then he asked me one night if I something happened because he invested into something, if I could bring some drugs over the border. And I said, no, hell no, I'm not going to do that. I'm scared. And again, I'm a girl, right? I'm not like a street person or anything, especially at the time, but I just wanted to be down and be the person that they can count on, right? Because they have hooked me up with a lot of things in the industry, with parties, events, with people. So I felt obligated, right? But I declined that. So then a few months later, he asked me, look, I just need product because whoever we were dealing with, that person uh, got caught up or something happened, right? And he's like, I just need that one favor from you. And it was not, he was not involving Puff at all, right? So that was just him and the friend of his that he introduced me to. But he said it was all together, like, how can I say, it's just his group, his affiliates, let's
Yep.
say. Right.
And so he does this, and you then eventually begrudgingly agree to do this smuggling run as a favor.
Right, but no, it was in New York, so I did not go over the border or anything. I just
Okay.
hooked him up with a substantial bigger amount. I was meeting his friend that he introduced me to on an Upper East Side restaurant, like a luxury place. And the second I went in there, he kind of made a comment of like, "Oh, I have the money," which was really loud for the fact that we were there, like a little bit, not to be out there. And that second, the feds stormed the entire restaurant. They took me down into handcuffs. And I was really, again, very naive. I didn't know exactly what was happening. Why was that happening? This is a friend of his. So, and I didn't really understand as well the American system, right? How you can even set somebody up. Because as far as I know, it doesn't work like that in any other country, especially not where I'm from. You can't just do a crime and then set somebody else up so they doing the time, so I didn't understand that, but what fact is that that guy that said I have the money, if we both got arrested as they claimed, he would have been my co-defendant, but he wasn't because he was an undercover agent. Uncle Paulie never got arrested, right? So that means he collaborated with that undercover agent from
Yeah.
the DEA. Right. And after that, when things are kind of like, when I went to Rikers Island and now I understand what my charges are and so on and so on, they obviously wanted me to rat out who was my connect and who are my clients from the escort service, right? And obviously I didn't talk to them about it. I did not give out any names. So I had to figure out, okay, how can I kind of dropped down my time a little bit in that sense, because I was looking at a pretty substantial amount of time. And the
Well,
good
that was
thing
gonna be
was,
my question. Like, what was the sentencing exactly? How do you what are you? You didn't rat people out from what you've
right,
told us, and so you decided not to do any of that, and you could have, but
right.
you stood to your ground. How did you get away with a lesson sentence, and what was that process like?
Right, right. So what happened is they made a mistake with the warrant that they have for my house, right? So in the beginning, I was charged with 12 counts of an A1 felony related to drugs, trafficking, and so on and so on. Obviously, sometimes mostly when they charge you, even the feds, they charge you with a lot of things, so something will stick to that because they were not looking for me. They were looking for me to give up my connect. They were looking for me to give out
Mm.
the names, right? So when they went into my house, they had the wrong, I think, apartment number. So everything failed in that sense. They took all my money. So I didn't have money for a lawyer, but I had some money tucked away in Switzerland. So I was able to retain a lawyer, and those lawyers were actually able to clean out a little bit all the mistakes that the feds have done in that arrest, right? I decided not to talk, but obviously a lot of people were afraid of me to talk, and we are talking more about the clients of the escort service. And that way there was some favors open, and I was able to get a lesser sentence, right? Because in the end of the day, it's all the same circles that they're running in. So from the 8 years they offered me, it went down to 4 years. And because it was a non-violent crime, I was able to do 2 years in prison and then get deported and just get a 25-year, just I can't come back to the States for 25 years. That's like how kind of the deal was, you know.
So you look, you're paying the price. You clearly made some mistakes. You
Oh,
took
yeah.
the time. You're doing it. Kudos to you for doing that. Some of these a lot of people are always trying to get away with actually doing any of
Right.
this stuff. So you've done that. But I just want to focus on that again because as I hear your story, it's just terrifying the prospects of what that means. It implies then, because I'm with you, how does Diddy's right hand man not know that he's an informant for the feds right out the gate, right? And threw you under the bus to get it. Why are they trying to get your person? Are the feds covering up for Diddy? Are the feds working with Diddy to wipe out the competition because you're bringing some small party favors to a party? Are they trying to bring their own in? There's a lot of questions my head then goes to. Why were the feds coming after you and not them? I mean, are these questions valid? Do you have these questions too?
Yeah. No, and again, I have talked to different people. One of my really good friends is Gene Deal, as he
Yep.
has been very big on this whole P. Diddy situation, has been talking about it for years. And he has told me that, look, in the streets, it's known that Uncle Paulie has been a rat. And the reason was because when all that stuff happened with the BMF, right? We go back to the Black Mafia family, which the drug ring has supported all the businesses of the music industry, right? Somehow Puff was probably involved as well, not maybe personally, but the crew around him. And a lot of people got arrested in year 2005 and 2006, but some people never got arrested, even they were very deep involved in it, right? And those people probably have to now work as a confidential informant. I'm not saying that is exactly how it went down. That's just like how it makes sense, and how it has been talked about for many, many years. Because in the end of the day, if you decide to be a confidential informant, you will have to work for them for a very long time. And they're going to keep reuse you, and they're going to keep and they're going to pay you as well, right? But in the end of the day, the way I saw Uncle Paulie, he was big in the streets. He was a gangster, quote unquote, right? I mean, he's known everywhere. He was a big guy with a big crew, and I never thought that he would be working with the feds, right? But that's just how it is. Again, I mean, there's no other way around it, or that I misunderstood, or a mishap happened. No, because he would have been locked up as well if he would not have been working with the feds.
I guess I have so many questions, and we're going to talk about a lot more. But in this installment here, what do you think Diddy is also an informant for the feds? Before we even get to the recent allegations, the raids, based on your experience and what you went through, is that a possibility?
I personally think yes. That's just my opinion. That's not a fact. But I think yeah. With all the things
Fascinating.
he got away with so many things over the years. I mean, yeah, and he has a lot of power, right? And he bought a media company, so he has just, and he has these videos of all these influential people. as we heard,
Oh,
right? Which is
I'm going to
the
stop you
most
there because I want to get into that. I want to get into the raids. I want to get into Nevez's thoughts and all this, but this is all too juicy to put into one. Sorry, guys. You're going to have to come back for part 2. If you haven't already, hit the subscribe button, hit the bell for all alerts so you get notified, smash that like button. We got so much more to break down with her. You're not going to miss it. Leave a comment down below. Also, she's looking for crew. You're making a documentary, right? You are going to be new. So if you want to reach out and hit her up, you please check her out on Instagram. Especially if you have any production experience or want to help her tell this story properly, I hope we can help too. We'll figure this out, but make sure to head over to Instagram. You can follow her there. You can message her there. Let's get through this and stay tuned for part 2 coming soon.